Think about someone you used to talk to almost every day. Someone who knew your schedule, your inside jokes, your bad days, before you even said a word. Now think about the last time you actually spoke to them. Not a like on a photo, not a birthday message. An actual conversation. For a lot of people, that memory is further away than they'd like to admit.
Nothing dramatic happened. No fight, no falling out, no single moment you could point to and say, that's when it ended. It just faded, slowly, quietly, until one day you realize you don't really know what's going on in their life anymore, and they don't know what's going on in yours. This is one of the strangest parts of adult life. Friendships rarely end. They just slowly disappear. And understanding why can change how you hold on to the people who still matter. Stay with me, because this applies whether you're still in school watching your childhood friend group quietly split apart, a young adult drifting from college friends, or well into adulthood, wondering where all your old friendships went. Why friendships fade instead of end. Most friendships don't die from conflict. They die from distance. Not physical distance necessarily. Attention distance. Friendship, at its core, runs on two simple things: proximity and repetition. You become close to people you see often, in low-stakes, unplanned ways. The friend at the next desk, the neighbor down the hall, the person you sit next to in every class. Remove that repeated, easy contact, and the friendship doesn't automatically end. It just stops being fed. And a relationship that isn't fed slowly runs out of the small moments that used to keep it alive. This isn't a sign you didn't care enough, or that the friendship wasn't real. It's simply how human closeness works. It was never built to survive on memory alone. It needs contact. The study that proved it. Researchers who study social networks have tracked what happens to friendships after a major life transition, like graduating or moving to a new city. One well-known study followed university students as they graduated and scattered to different cities. Before graduation, participants named their closest friends and rated how strong those bonds felt. A year later, researchers checked back in. Even among friends who had rated their bond as extremely close, closeness had dropped substantially for those who no longer lived near each other or interacted regularly. The friendships that survived weren't necessarily the deepest ones. They were the ones that kept some form of regular contact, even small, a habitual call, a recurring visit, a shared group chat that actually got used. Depth of feeling wasn't the deciding factor. Frequency of contact was. That single finding surprises most people, because we like to believe our closest friendships are immune to distance. They're not. They just fade a little slower. There's a reason this hits harder as you get older. As a kid, your social world is built for you. School puts you in a room with the same people every day for years without you having to plan any of it. As an adult, that structure disappears. Every friendship now has to be built and maintained on purpose. Someone has to send the text. Someone has to suggest the date. Someone has to make the effort every single time with no built-in room to do it in. Researchers who study social circles describe something called the friendship half-life. Without deliberate effort, roughly half of your close friendships naturally fall away within about a year after a major life change, like a graduation, a move, or a new job. On top of that, most adults are already stretched between work, family, and their own exhaustion. There's only so much social energy in a day, and it tends to go first to whoever is physically closest, a partner, a roommate, a coworker, not necessarily whoever matters most. None of this means your old friends stopped mattering to you, or you to them. It means adult life quietly removes the structure that used to do the work of friendship for you, and very few people are ever taught how to replace it. One of the hardest parts of a fading friendship is that there's no clear ending to grieve. A breakup has a conversation. A fight has a moment. A slow fade has neither. You don't get closure. You just get a growing gap of unanswered texts, unshared updates, and a quiet assumption that reaching out now would feel awkward since so much time has already passed. And the longer the silence goes, the heavier it feels to break it. So the silence just continues, not because either person stopped caring, but because neither person wants to be the one to admit how much time has slipped by.
For a student, this can look like a childhood best friend who ends up at a different school, and the friendship quietly dissolves without either of you deciding it should. For a young adult, it can look like the college friend group that was inseparable for 4 years, scattered across cities within a year of graduation. For someone deeper into adulthood, raising a family or building a career, it can look like realizing you haven't had an unplanned, unhurried conversation with a close friend in months, buried under work deadlines and family schedules. In every version, the fading feels the same. A slow, silent erosion, easy to miss until the gap is already wide. Picture two friendships that start the exact same way, in the exact same friend group, at the exact same time. The first drifts the way most do. Life gets busy, messages get shorter, then rarer. A year passes, then 2, and eventually neither person is quite sure how to restart a conversation that's been quiet for so long. The second survives, not because those two people were somehow closer, but because one small habit stuck. A standing phone call every few weeks, a recurring joke kept alive in a group chat. Nothing elaborate, just a tiny, repeated point of contact that never let the gap grow too wide to cross. Same starting point, same busy adult lives. The difference wasn't how much they cared. It was whether a small habit existed to carry the friendship through the seasons when neither person had much energy to give.
The first step? Recognize what's happening. A fading friendship isn't proof that it wasn't real or that you failed at something. It's simply what happens by default when structure disappears. Pick a small, repeatable point of contact instead of relying on big, occasional gestures. A short weekly message matters more over time than one perfect catch-up call that only happens once a year.
Be the one who reaches out first, without keeping score. Waiting for them to text first is often just two people, both waiting, both assuming the other has drifted away on purpose. Lower the bar for what counts as staying in touch. A friendship doesn't need a long, planned conversation to stay alive. A short voice note, a meme that reminded you of them, a quick thinking of you can do more than you'd expect. Turn effort into a habit, not a decision. Put a recurring reminder on your calendar to check in with specific people. Relying on willpower alone in a busy adult life
usually loses. Accept that some friendships are seasonal, and that's all right. Not every friend needs to be a lifelong one for the connection to have mattered. Letting go of the guilt around natural endings makes room to invest fully in the friendships you do want to keep. If a friendship still matters to you, say so directly. A simple, honest message, "I miss talking to you, I know it's been a while," breaks the silence far more effectively than hoping the other person makes the first move. Friendships fading isn't a personal failure. It's the default outcome of a life that no longer hands you built-in structure. But here's what's also true. Defaults can be changed. The friendships that last aren't the ones with the least distance or the busiest schedules. They're the ones where someone, at some point, decided the connection was worth a small, repeated effort.
You don't need grand gestures to keep someone in your life. You need consistency, even in small doses, and the willingness to reach out first. You can be the reason a friendship doesn't quietly disappear. And the moment you choose that, something shifts. The people who matter to you stop slipping away in silence, and you start building the kind of friendships that survive the busy, scattered shape of adult life. That's when the real connection starts.